Hello everybody, welcome back. If you have not been here before, my name is Debbie and I read a lot of books. I feel like you can't even tell I'm wearing a white top right now. I am wearing a top. For a second there it looked like it just blended into my skin because I'm so pale. Yeah, I just finished Boy's Life by Robert R. McCammon. This was a recommendation from somebody in my comment, so thank you so much for the recommendation. It was Nicholas Sloan 5907. So thank you, Nicholas, for the recommendations of the Robert McCammon books. I first read Swan Song, which I very much enjoyed. It was kind of like end of the world fantasy. It had a bit of everything and I really enjoyed that. So yeah, he did actually recommend me reading Boy's Life first, but by the time I'd seen that comment I had already started Swan Song. And actually I'm kind of glad that I started with Swan Song first, actually, just because they feel very different paces, very different styles. That one was full on end of the world, apocalypse, and the fantasy stuff was subtle but not. In this one, it does have elements of fantasy in it, but it's so much more subtle in Boy's Life. So yeah, I'll just get in and read that blurb. He knows the bootleggers who lurk in the dark places outside of town. On moonless nights, he heard spirits congregate in the churchyard to reminisce about the good old days. He'd seen rain that flooded Main Street and left it crawling with snakes. Corey knows magic and relishes it as only a young boy can. One frosty winter morning, he and his father watch a car jump the curb and sail into the fathomless town lake. His father dives into the icy water to rescue the driver and finds a naked corpse handcuffed to the wheel. This chilling sight is only the start of the strangest period of Corey's life, when the magic of his town will transform him into a man. It's in crime, thriller, fantasy and literary fiction target audience adult. It is done through the point of view of Corey, who is a kid, but it is very much an adult book. It's a coming-of-age story for Corey, but he sees and witnesses so much. It's like even the tagline, it says, "In Zephyr, Alabama, a bizarre murder is only the beginning. Small-town boys see weird sights, and Zephyr has provided Corey J. Mackinson with his fair share of oddities." So yeah, you start off at the beginning of the book with Corey in the car with his father, and they see this car go into the local lake, and his father caught a glimpse of the driver and just thought, somebody is in there, I'm going to jump into the lake and try and save this person's life. And then you find out that what the father saw will haunt him for the rest of his life, for the rest of the book, because when he went down he saw this naked corpse handcuffed and he saw a tattoo on the man's shoulder, and when he reports it to the local sheriffs, the local police force look into it and they basically say there's no missing people, we are not able to identify what you think you saw, and we have no access to the car or the body because this lake is like bottomless. Like, it is so deep that anything that goes into this lake is never being seen again or coming up again. So we have nothing to look for because nobody's been reported missing. We don't really have a dead body and we only have your eyewitness description of this person. We have nothing. And so you see the father's kind of slow decline. I say slow, it's actually very quick actually, through Corey's eyes of seeing his father not being able to sleep, being haunted by what he saw at the bottom of the lake. And it's like, it's a murder mystery in there, which had me hooked, I'll tell you that. But even though that's how it opens the story, with them witnessing this car going into the lake, his father seeing this body, the driver's seat, and then finding out that there's no way that they can actually find out what happened because they have absolutely nothing and nobody will be able to get this car or this person off the bottom of the lake. You just, as I said, you just see this decline in the father and you see Corey reacting to that, and then you also see him just growing up and the things that he witnesses. And it's in Alabama, it's the 50s? 60s, you are seeing reactions to segregation and things like that. So there is language in there which is very much of the time that it's set. So I will let you be aware of that in regards to the racial part of the story, I guess is the best way to put it. You do find that Corey's family is actually quite inclusive and quite kind of ahead of, there's quite a lot of people that are ahead of their time in regards to this story. But I will just let you know that race is a big part of the story because of when it is set and their relationship with black characters, especially the father, because the father is obviously being haunted by these dreams, and there is a black family where the lady of the house claims to have some psychic abilities, and the father is terrified of this woman. There does come a point in the book where he finally is just like, right, I do need to kind of get over this. But this family does invite the Mackinsons over to the house to talk to Corey, and yeah, a lot happens in this book. As I said, it's 582 pages. I read a lot of this on my phone, so because it was a small screen, it implied it was about 1,000 pages. It's the fact that the magic and the fantasy side of things is so subtle, and to the point where you're just like, could this be explained in a different way? And when it comes to kind of the murder mystery, when Corey's father jumps into the lake, Corey sees a man at the edge of the woods, and he doesn't know if it's in his mind, if he's actually seen something. And he comes across a green feather, which he takes home. And it's a big part of him trying to understand the mystery of what happened that day. And I feel like it goes from them witnessing it at the beginning, and then there's a whole story of Corey and his growing up and that coming of age story, and then it comes back to the murder mystery in the last 100 pages or so. So you have this big moment where it is focusing more on Corey rather than the mystery, which is what I think it explains why it's called Boy's Life. I love the front cover of it because it is literally just Corey by the lake with his bike. And there are so many things where it implies that the bike has a bit of a life of its own. It is such an interesting one to talk about because of those little fantasy moments. And like, there's even a point when Corey is talking about playing with his mates, and he's talking about the wings that sprout from their backs and how they go flying over Zephyr. And it was just like, is he playing, or is this something that's actually happening? And it's really hard to tell what is actually happening there. And at the end of the book, you do kind of get an element of questioning the narrator, because of when you find out like how the story's being told. I don't know if that'll probably make more sense if you've read the book, when you find out how it's being told and why it's being told and who's telling it. Not, well, to be fair, who's telling it, it's done in the first person, you know you're getting it from Corey's point of view, but when you find out at the end like how it's being told, yeah, it was a very interesting read. I very much enjoyed it. It was quite page-turnery because you do have that murder mystery kind of lurking in the background while all these different things are happening to Corey. Because he's 13, I think he's just become a teenager. And yeah, so you see him with his friends, you see his reaction to other things that happen. Like there's a point when there's a flood, there's talks about this animal that lives at the bottom of the lake, where like they just say like, is it a crocodile? But they kind of refer to it as like this mystical being. There's even another one where they refer to that one's kind of closer towards the end of the book, where they go to a fair, and there's this guy who has an animal like in this weird tent thing, and Corey is convinced that it was a dinosaur. And it's like, was it a dinosaur, or was it like a hippo, or, you know, there's just so many question marks, especially because you're seeing through the point of view of a teenager who is questioning what he saw. Yeah. I finished this morning while I was eating my breakfast, and it is currently 10 to 12, so it's not far off lunch for me. It's just the fact that fantasy is just so subtle, and there's points when you're just like, is there an explanation for this? That was what kept me going. It's just like questioning those little fantasy moments, those little moments of magic when you're just like, is this magic? Or is this something that could be explained away? Does it feel like magic because you're seeing it through the eyes of a young teenager? Oh. It made me think, this one. I do like a book that makes me think. You know, there are some books where you're just like, I'm just happy to be entertained here. I don't care. It's completely outside the realm of possibility. Not everything has to be war and peace. But when you have a book like this, where it does make you think about the little things, yeah, having a book that really does make you use your noggin can actually be quite satisfying. Yeah, I feel like I've said a lot and yet nothing about this book. But if you like your murder mystery, there's a good murder mystery kind of like hovering under the surface when it comes to this book. So as I said, you know, you've got that bit at the beginning, and then you get quite a lot of Corey growing up before it finally does come back. I think it also, because it helps you to get to know certain people and the relationships before it finally comes back and goes, we've led you into a false sense of security here. So you think you know, but you don't. I'm gonna stop it there. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching. That's the front cover of the book again, Boy's Life by Robert R. McCammon. It said he was the winner of the World Fantasy and Bram Stoker Awards. So, yeah. I will say though, if you like your Stephen King, I do think you'll enjoy Robert McCammon. I feel like it's a very similar style. Obviously, there's a fairly unique way of writing. I have enjoyed my Stephen King. Thing is, Robert McCammon, being a similar style to Stephen King, but also slightly easier to read. There's something about Robert McCammon's style that really brings you in, and it's a style of writing that really does make you want to keep going. Whereas I feel like the Stephen King that I have read, been brilliant. I absolutely love what I have read so far of Stephen King. But there is something about Stephen King that does make you read a little bit slower. And I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just that for someone who is a quick reader, I find Robert McCammon very easy to read. It felt like a quick read, even for a long book. So, yeah. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. And then I will see you next time with another video. I'm going to go watch the end of season 2 of Frasier, because I'm on like episode 21, I think. And I think there's 24. So I haven't got that many to get through to finish season 2. And get a bite to eat and probably a cup of tea, to be honest. Hello to the newbies. It's been very nice to see you. And yeah, I'll see you next time with another video. I love you all. Stay safe. Goodbye.